Ladies and gentlemen, I am here with Tuck. Tonight is about prophets, soothsayers, and the people who claim to know the future, as well as time travelers. But right now, me and Tuck is in a conversation about Trump and China, and we're going to carry through there, and then we'll slowly progress to the show. Believe it or not, a lot of the stuff we're going to talk about tonight, has to do with the things that are currently going on in politics and the world right now. I hope everyone is safe. I hope everyone is doing well. The future can only be as good as we can make it, but it's not looking great for everybody. Anyway, Chuck, so you were saying something about a picture of Trump.
Okay, so if you look at the picture of Trump, it was on CNN. You could see his feet are wide, like he's trying to stabilize himself, but his toes are in and his heels are out.
Let's see, how old is Trump now?
He's drunk off his ass, or he can't stand.
I mean, I think if anything, he may have. It goes on three things. One, he's of age, like most presidents. Two, being a president is a very stressful job. Way the hell more stressful than, I forgot to change the thing here down the bottom, but it's way the hell more stressful than anything we do. It is, if you look at it, now I have a show on the back burner that actually goes into that. And it talks about the presidents and things like that. But if you look at the presidents before and after they went into office, you'll know 90% of them have gray hair now when they left. You will notice it is a very stressful job, and it is very taxing on the body. And when they say that some of these guys use drugs to get through, I'm sure they do. I'm sure they use stuff that we don't even know about, to keep them going. But I think Trump is in low health, and I think that he had to go out here to do this China thing, and he was already handling one thing that he probably didn't want to handle, and now he's going to go out there and handle this, and like you said, he seemed like he was mad and he wanted to get out of there.
Well, yeah. When they asked him about what was going on, how everything, he's like, "Yep, everything's great, everything's fine." He was very short. Like that's what my dad does when you can tell he's pissed off. That's how I picked up on it. Like it's a very similar habit of like when you're short, just like okay, I want to get out of here. You can tell he was pissed off, like he didn't get what he wanted.
Now I'm what I did here. Now, forgive me if I'm wrong. I'm not versed in what happened in China except for a few little small things. So if I get it wrong, don't come at me. But if I'm not mistaken, we reached a deal with China. Well, Trump, NVIDIA, and China reached a deal where they can sell them chips now. We were holding them back because when Trump left over there, the NVIDIA stock skyrocketed up again. I mean, they got more money than most countries' GDP. But which makes me a little worried in the sense that the whole AI thing, because China, it will push through with this AI stuff. We are pushing through with this AI stuff. We are building these massive systems. Like the one you were talking about today. That's not for who was it? What's his name?
Oh, it was. They were saying it was oh god.
The Shark Tank guy.
Yeah. Mr. Wonderful.
Yeah. Well, rich dude put a bunch of money in it. He basically, to boil it down, he did a contract with some Canadian group, and this is a massive AI data center, and the people are upset about it, like they are everywhere. I mean, but the thing is, you can't do anything about these data centers. I mean,
Then why are they holding a town hall meeting?
because they do everywhere. I mean, the only thing like there's been people here in Virginia and other places, and like the data centers will come along and they'll be like, okay, we'll offer you this much money for your farmland. And people will be like, no, and then they'll say, we'll offer you more money for the farmland. And we're talking, I think there's like this one place. It was a small piece of land, I think in Farmville or something like that, and it went up to like $40 million. And the group, the guys that owned it, said, no, we're just going to donate it to this other thing. Well, what's going to happen is that city is going to be influenced, and they're going to take it under whatever that act is.
Eminent domain.
Yeah. So I mean, there's not much they can do about it. If they want it bad enough, they're going to get it, and they're going to take it.
Yes, but this is the thing is that the check and balance here is that, and this is why local politics is so important. The check and balance there is that the local government's up is beholden to its population. So what they're really saying is, unless you have enough money, we're never going to listen to you. What they're really saying is, like, you might vote us in, but we're not here for you. We're here for someone else and lining our own pockets. And that is that's just I don't know, that it is completely opposite of what our government is supposed to be, because that's not supposed to happen.
Well, see, I believe now. This is my belief in my heart, my soul, my chest, everything else. I believe that when it comes to the AI and when it comes to these centers and everything else, there is no stopping them. There is no thank you. The government is going to build these because they feel like they have to, and I firmly believe they have found something they need this AI for. It's the only thing that makes sense. Why would you? Huh? Yeah, the soul. Why would you go to the process of I mean, there's people from Kentucky that have been posting pictures and videos of these helicopters flying over with these giant magnets and other equipment being suspended from them. The cover story is that they're looking for old whales. And I'm like, no, that's not what it is. They're looking for minerals. They're looking for rare earth metals. They're planning on coming in and taking those farms and doing strip mining. This beautiful Appalachia land. Mark my words. They already talked about doing it here. They already talked about. They found these massive lithium deposits, and they're planning on strip mining the Appalachians. So they're gonna do this wherever, however, and they're gonna find this material and they're gonna build these machines, and they will suck every drop of water out of this planet to do whatever it is they need to do, because there's something they're looking for. I don't know why. I mean, like I said, the soul. I thought it was the soul. It might be the soul. It might be. They're trying to understand something. They're trying to figure out something. You don't burn the world for a cure for cancer. You don't burn the world for AI slop. But they're willing to burn the world. They're willing to go to the extremes to use these systems, the combined knowledge and creativity of the world to figure out whatever it is, the questions they need to ask.
I think that the I think it's more like self-serving interest. The politicians are getting a shit ton of kickbacks because the business interests see what they can do with it, and they've been fighting for control over the politicians for the longest time, and this gives them the ultimate control. And so the politicians are doing it because they're like, oh yeah, this is going to make me lots of money. not right, and people, they'll be mad at first, but when they make the money too, it's justifying their behavior. But I don't really think that there's anything like nefarious, like a conspiracy. I just think that you've got interests that are aligned, and just pockets are being filled, and so therefore the wheels of commerce are going. Because if you look at our whole system, it's based upon waste, fraud, and abuse. So I mean, this is just the newest mechanism to where they can revitalize the system.
Well, I mean, it's not just capitalism. I mean, it's other countries that are
It's
doing the same thing.
governments.
I mean, government in general, yeah. Um,
Economics, if left untouched by the politicians, is fine. Even capitalism's fine. But it's when you let government regulate and interfere in it, that's when it becomes a problem.
you know, I mean, you could be right, and I think you're partially right. I do. I think that if you leave something unchecked, or these people think they can do whatever it is, I mean, that's part of the drive. That's part of the system. But um,
Yeah. Everybody talks about wealth of nations, but they never talk about the morals and ethics behind how commerce really works. And the thing is if we were allowed to do commerce the way that nature intended us to do commerce, which is what the wealth of nations really observes, I think that we would never have an economic downturn again. I think we would have a way more balanced society.
well, I mean, it goes back to the whole water thing too, because these things are using and utilizing massive amounts of water we can't replace. Do you think of water as a right or a resource?
Oh, it's a right. It's the governments were formed to protect the resources of the local community. That's really the original premise behind it. To keep the outsiders from coming and exploiting your resources for pennies on the dollar. If you're going to take from us, you owe us what you took. That's
That's
the way that was the original way it was.
now, and that ideally, yeah, but now it's not a right anymore. I mean, it's not going to be a right anymore. It's not going to be a resource. It's going to be um to whoever can afford it, because
I,
they're talking about going as far as to you know making you pay for the water, even the water you pull out of the ground. Um, if it's there, they're. I mean, we are entering the first heel of the water wars. I mean, and you're going to see people experience things like diseases in third world countries and things where they can't get water. I mean, we don't. I mean, you might see some of that because you're in your situation, because sometimes you don't have water, or you're on trail and you see that stuff and things like that. But you know, can you imagine living in a place that doesn't have clean water at all? You don't have the tools and utensils to make your clean water, and the ones you do have,
well, you get yourself a 20 ounce fucking. You get yourself a bottle that can fit a Sawyer, and you do either that or you get yourself a Grail. But you know how expensive those fucking Grails are, and
uh,
then you only get like 65 gallons, which that's like a month's worth of just drinking water,
but
per traveler.
doing that though, eventually that stuff will be expensive. That stuff will cost, and that's
It already is expensive.
and that. And if you use one of those, have you calculated how much it costs to how much a gallon of water costs you based on that?
On my Sawyer,
Yeah.
I just had to spend. So like normally you can buy them for like 20 bucks a piece. I was forced to buy a 2 pack for 35 bucks, which
And how
what,
many do
that
you
kind
get
of
off of
plays
that?
into it.
And how many do you get
Huh?
off of, and how many can you use that for?
Oh, the Sawyer is rated at 100,000 gallons. That's why Amazon and
Okay.
Walmart don't sell them anymore. Because the life straw and everything else like that's 1,000 gallons or like 300 or 500 gallons. If you go look at any filtration system now, they're all like 30, 50, gallons. if you really want to, you should stock up on Sawyers because
I mean, I can see
a
a
hundred
time.
thousand gallons will last you a
I mean,
lifetime. And
I can see a time when those water filters, one of those filters will run you $300 and $400.
oh no, but this water filter ain't gonna do much. Because Sawyer, it doesn't like you can still, from what I understand, you can still catch Giardia from it. You can still catch stuff from it. It's to get the bacteria. It's not really there for viruses. That's what you need. Something like either boiling, or you need. That's what the Grail is for. The Grail is like, if you want, like, if you're really dealing with contaminated water, the Grail is the ultimate water. Like if you're on trail, because it's a coal filter, which therefore gets everything out. And so like you're gonna get the cleanest possible water from that.
Now
But you only get
we used to
65
use like
gallons per tablet.
we used to use these carbon things.
Yeah, it was carbon, not coal. You're
Yeah.
right. Sorry.
I mean, it was they were you bought the kits out of the back of they didn't have them like that now. I mean, you bought the kits out of the back of magazines and you took the carbon from like fish tanks and stuff, and that's what you use to make your water filters with. But but yeah, I don't know. I'm just saying is I think I want to do a show on the coming water war because um like I said, there's more and more talk about it now. There's I mean not from like conspiracy theorists and and people trying to get views and stuff like that. I mean we're talking legitimate people here. That are well, and what I mean by legitimate people within government or governments and stuff like that. They're generally concerned about the use of water and the amount of water that's being used and the water that's being used for these data centers. I mean, we'll have to. I mean, like right now, if all data centers are running and all the ones they build and everything else, and are all running at full capacity and they're going on, I mean, there's not enough electricity for us. There's not enough water for us. Um, there's issues there.
You know what? We've known since the 1930s. It's the Ford Foundation report that I keep talking about. We've known since the 1930s, due to the overpopulation of Earth, that we were going to have resource wars. Do you know how a general gets promoted, gets a star?
Well, I mean, I would say he does something good or bad or what is dependable,
No,
however you look at it. I mean, usually, back in my time, a person how they got promoted, with well, one they had to be a enlisted officer. They had to go through some type of school or whatever. I mean, I don't like people that just signed the paper and walked in or got drafted or whatever. They couldn't be move up the chain that way or that easy. There was always some form of indoctrination they had to go through. But there was it was based on like what you did, how you took orders, and things like
well,
that.
my best friend's dad was a 1 star, and he was kind of explaining it to me, and this is back in the 90s. But and so in the early 2000s, I was watching on C-SPAN. So what a general actually has to do to get a star is he has to go before Congress. They give him a theater and a scenario, and they ask him to write a battle plan for that. If Congress likes it, they give him another star. They promote him, so on and so forth, and he gets to implement that battle plan and get everything prepared in that theater for that area. There was a general in like probably 2001, 2002, who was talking about the coming resource wars, and just like he gave a whole lecture to Congress. It's on C-SPAN. I watched it on C-SPAN. um, he gave a whole lecture to Congress. It was like a good 2 hours on what's happening with water and resources, and how the United States needs to position itself for for future resources and so on and so forth. So there's already been a plan. Like there's a lot of people that already say that we have known for decades that we've got resource wars coming.
I mean, it's one thing to talk about it, and one thing to it's not something that I thought we would actually go through, in our lifetimes. A lot of this is not something I thought we would go through in our lifetimes. And I guess that's probably either why we shouldn't have listened to people like this.
Well, come here.
So anyway, let's start. We'll take a break in between and start adding stuff. But here's the thing about the future: we can't stand not knowing it. We will do almost anything: consult bones, read intels, study the stars, go into trances, post to TikTok to get even the thinnest sliver of what is coming. Every culture in human history has had someone whose job it is to look ahead and report back. The Oracle, the Sibylline books, the Book of Revelation, the Farmer's Almanac. Your aunt who says she dreamed about water and then something bad happened, so you should be careful this month. I mean, my family was real bad about that when they had prophetic dreams and stuff like that. I don't know about yours. They warn you about when a raven or a bird flies in, or God knows what. But anyway, the forms change, the hunger doesn't. So tonight, I want to introduce you to some people. A 16th century French apothecary who wrote 4-line poems that keeps coming true, depending on who reads them. A Kentucky farm boy with a 9th grade education who could fall asleep and speak fluent about medicines and world events he had no business knowing. A Washington socialite who told presidents what was coming. A blind Bulgarian woman who saw 9/11 30 years before it happened. And then a new breed, people with smartphones, with face blur filters, with follower counts in the hundreds of thousands, who are telling us they're not from this time at all. They're from 2030, 2045. Some from 2671. And they've come back here to us specifically to make a TikTok about it. I'm not going to tell you what to believe. I'm going to tell you what they said. And then I'm going to let you sit with that uncomfortable feeling you get when a few things on the list have actually happened. That feeling has a name, by the way. A mathematician named John Allen Paulus called it the Jean Dixon effect. We'll get to her. Oh, we'll definitely get to her. But first, France. The year 1503. A child is born who spends his life writing things he isn't supposed to know. Nostradamus, the poet of doom. Michel de Nostradamus. Imagine you're a doctor in the 16th century France, and the plague keeps killing everyone you try to save, including your wife and 2 children. You have studied medicine. You know the best available science of your age, and it is not enough. It is never enough. The bodies pile up faster than you can count. What do you do when the knowledge fails you? Nostradamus turned to the stars. He turned to deep, sleepless nights staring into a bowl of water by candlelight. And he started writing poems. Not love poems, not nature poems. Poems about what was coming. I should note here that when he stared into these bowls of water by candlelight, he smelled burning hemp seeds. Take that how you want it. But we'll go on from there. Well, what I'm trying to say is Nostradamus was high when he was getting the visions. He wrote them in a language designed to be confusing, a mixture of French, Latin, Greek, and what scholars generously call creative spelling. I've done it. I know other people have done it. We all do it when we want to be clever. He did this partially to avoid the Inquisition, which had very strong opinions about prophecy, and partially some believe, because if you write vaguely enough, you're almost always right. Now here's where it gets interesting. The man wrote nearly 1,000 of these things. And defenders of Nostradamus say he got some extraordinary things right. Let's walk through his greatest hits. Century 1, Quatrain 35. A young lion shall overcome the older one. On the field of combat, in a single battle, he will pierce his eyes through a golden cage. 2 wounds made one, then he dies a cruel death. In July 1559, King Henry II of France participated in a jousting tournament. His opponent, a younger man, Montgomery, had a lance that shattered on impact. The splinter went through the king's gilded visor, his golden cage, into his eye and brain, and died 10 days later from wounds, one to the eye, one through the throat. His doctors did everything they could. One of those doctors, in fact, was Nostradamus himself, who had already seen this coming and reportedly warned the king not to joust that year. The king jousted anyway. Some people just won't be saved. The next one gets people is this. In the depths of West Europe, a young child will be born to poor people. He who by his tongue will seduce a great troop, his fame will increase toward the realm of East. Nostradamus scholars point to this as the predicting name of Adolf Hitler. Born in Australia, west of Europe, from a low-class family who rose to power through extraordinary, terrifying force, whose ambitions reached east, always east, Poland, Russian, and beyond. Skeptics say that could be Napoleon or any number of other people who rose from humble origins. But being very loud in public, and they're not wrong. The poem is wide enough to drive several tanks through, but it keeps finding a home in history. It keeps unsettling in its own way, even though he did say Hitler and Hitler. Anyway, the next one is the blood of the just will commit a fault at London, burnt through lightning of 23 the 6th. The ancient lady will fall from her high place. Several of the same sex will be killed. This one, his supporters say, is the Great Fire of London, 1666. 3 6s and a 6. Rearrange the numbers, add some medieval French math, and you get 1666. The ancient lady is the old St. Paul's Cathedral, which burned and fell. The fire started in a bakery on Puddin Lake and consumed over 13,000 homes in 4 days. Did Nostradamus see it? Or is this what James, the great skeptic and magician, called retrofitting? James spent most of his career demonstrating that if you could write something vague enough, history will eventually provide an event to match it. He called Nostradamus the world's most successful fraud, which is a title with a very stiff competition through the centuries. What I find genuinely fascinating about Nostradamus, separate from the questions whether he was right about anything or wrong. He wrote nearly 1,000 of these things. His books was published over his lifetime. It was an immediate bestseller. He was summoned to the French court. The queen consulted him about her children's futures, and he told her what she wanted to hear, mostly, but also apparently a few things that were hard to hear. He told Catherine all four of her sons would be kings. They were. He also said none would have lasting heirs. They didn't. This is a man who understands something important about power and prophecy. The people who need to hear the future most desperately are usually the people who already have the most. The poor don't need a prophet. They know exactly what's coming. Most of the same. Now, here's the things he got right: death of King Henry II, the Great Fire of London, the rise of Napoleon, the rise of Hitler, the French Revolution. What he didn't get right was a comet destroying Earth in 1999. However, some argue that date was wrong and it is this year or next year. The third Antichrist launching World War III from the Middle East. That's kind of still pending. His predictions for our current decade have been actively debated. Nostradamus died in 1566, peaceful as he predicted. His tomb was opened during the French Revolution, and according to legends, the soldiers who opened it found a medallion around the skeleton's neck, engraved with the exact year of its opening. If this story is true, is another matter. But it's the kind of story that attaches itself to prophets who refuse to leave or die, because we want it to be true. And wanting things to be true is where it all starts. Do you have anything else you want to add about Nostradamus?
Yeah, I was actually I was curious because like I know Meyer talks extensively about some of this stuff, right? So I wanted to see what his take was because I thought, and my thought was correct. So basically, Nostradamus was a fraud, but Nostradamus wrote in deliberately obscure quatrains that can be retrofitted to almost any event after the fact, which isn't prophecy, it's just pattern matching by readers. Genuine foresight comes through direct contact with, okay, much of what's good is it's okay. So basically, he's saying that people are stretching the truth. Now, I've watched, like, I was very fascinated with Nostradamus growing up. I even watched the documentary on him. Um, it was kind of scary because it was it was based about like revelations and stuff like that. But I don't know. He there's a lot to question, like the fact that he was looking for a crystal ball, while he was doing this, and it makes me wonder if he had a tool that was not that was not his research.
I mean, it could be. Now, see, here's the other thing that gets me about Nostradamus. You can take somebody who's never heard of him. That's hard now, but you can take somebody who's never heard of him. You can set them in a room and play like some of his stories, or you can play the Discovery Channel when they do that prophecy thing, and just like that, they become instantly hooked on this man. They become entranced, whether they believe it or not. They become entranced. It's like you can watch somebody's eyes, like something shifts about them when you start hearing Nostradamus' prophecies. I don't know what it is, but he seems that his words have always seemed to have an effect on people. They have always seemed to draw them in. They have always seemed to make them think things. Now, you can argue that, wording like this is vague enough to be interpreted by different people, but I tell you, when something does happen, I always seem to go back to his prophecies and look for something.
Yeah, but if you're looking, but see, people are also getting confirmation bias when they do that. Even the documentary points that out that they're obscure, that some of these could point to multiple moments where you never know till after the fact that you go back and you look, and those types of things. So I mean, if you're looking for a reason to prove this guy right, because they always say a broken clock's right twice a day. You're gonna hit some, and you're gonna be right on target.
No,
But
I think the only way that we can actually debate that this man is right or wrong is if one of his last prophecies happen.
which is
That is,
Megiddo.
huh?
Megiddo.
Well, no, it says the third Antichrist launches World War III from the Middle East. So if the person we think is the Antichrist, or could be the Antichrist, or whoever we attach that idea to, and that person launches World War III from the Middle East, then that is a hard thing to know, and especially if it happens within the next year or so. I mean, that. I mean, if World War III breaks out, that is the next biggest step in our society's evolution, I guess you would say. It's something that's going to happen. It's something that will happen. Like I was talking about the other day, it might happen because two people get into an argument about, being too far across the border. But yeah, I think, I don't know if he's right or wrong, but I do.
You could call Israel the Antichrist.
Well, or you can call, I wouldn't call Israel themselves the Antichrist. You can call somebody running the game the Antichrist. You can call somebody who is in charge, who has the power to start it and create it. The Antichrist could be Iran. It could be Iraq. It could be anyone who decides to. It could be Trump. It could be the French guy, whatever his name is. I can't remember.
I think people, just like in the way the Jews were looking for a general to lead them, I think that the modern Christians are doing the same thing by looking for some nefarious, some deviant dude with horns and beady red eyes and announces himself like, I'm Antichrist. Now, what does Antichrist mean? Well, what was Christ for? He lived the law of love, peace, love, harmony, love your neighbor, do unto others.
This would be
against that would be Antichrist.
Well, someone that's we'll say we'll throw it out there. Someone that is of evil, of
Yeah, but
you can't really say that about Israel because there's a lot of people they do believe in Christ. They just didn't believe he was the Christ, And there's some that do believe he's Christ. But I don't know. That's just that goes into the whole sticky situation.
But even within Christianity, if you look at what Jesus taught, he taught about loving your enemy, loving your neighbor, about being kind and good to people. That doesn't mean you preemptively strike another country and then say, "Yeah, I'm of God." It's like, "Thou shalt not kill unless the church says so."
Well, it also says the Israel and the Israelites are the protected ones. It does
by the whole world because of the Holocaust.
No, and they're protected by God. They're supposed to be, according to the Bible, according to we'll base it on the King James version. According to the King James version, the Jews are the God's favorite. And it even says in there who helps the Jews lives or something like that. I can't remember how it was.
Yeah, I think that this is something ancient. Because if Abraham was able to sit down and have a talk with God, but nobody else can see God without, and they make up these fantastic stories about how you can't see God, but Abraham just mysteriously, was above all human beings and outside the laws of divinity, was able to sit down and have a conversation with a human being that called himself God. And so this human being claimed to be the God over, let's say, 3 races that were.
Well, you're forgetting about the zombies.
I'm forgetting about the zombies.
Yes. When Jesus died and come back to life, the saints, and it's in the Bible, the saints come back to life, walked out of their tombs, and walked around fucking Jerusalem and surrounding areas. And
But the saints were saints based upon the Catholic Church.
no,
So
no.
therefore, that's dogma after the
What they're implying is the saints are implying that these are they call them something else. I mean, I'm calling them saints, but they're um the people who were of God before Jesus. You know, like
And there's also a prophecy that you're supposed to see Ezekiel. You know, the Mormons have claimed to see Ezekiel, that he came down and was present amongst them for a service, and went back up, and that was the whole Mormon thing about the second coming.
I don't believe
Oh!
it.
But the saints could rise, but we can't believe that Ezekiel came back. Why is one okay?
Well, no,
and two
I'm
not?
not saying. I'm
It goes
just.
back to bias again.
I'm not saying that happened. I'm not saying. I'm just saying is what the book says. You know, I'm just saying
Well,
is
that's
what
what Mormons say.
that's what the Mormon book says.
No, it's not in a book. This is folklore within the church.
Oh, okay. I
In
don't.
the same
I don't know
way, in
that.
the same way that the saints coming up is folklore that just got written down.
Okay. Like I said, I can't. It's hard for me to. I mean, knowing what I know about Joseph Smith, and knowing what I know about the Mormon Church, and knowing that before Joseph Smith founded the church,
Uh-huh.
Joseph Smith belongs in our list here tonight. I didn't put him in here, but he belongs in this list. Because I have one here somewhere. He wore this little medallion around his neck, and this little medallion is, and I mean, you can, they used to sell them at the church or some places. Like, anyway, I can send you a picture of it, but it has occultic symbols on it, which I found interesting because, I had never thought that the Mormon Church would be using, or Joseph Smith would have used occultic symbolism at that time. But I mean, I think that was during his process of whatever he was intending to become. But anyway, I mean, he supposedly had visions and prophecies and things like that as well.
I've done part of me coming over to the Meyer camp was studying the Mormon Church, and I came to this conclusion. Joseph Smith, if you look, okay, there's an 1856 Deseret article where Brigham Young talks about the first vision. The first vision that he gives versus the first vision that is inscribed in every single Book of Mormon, completely different. That did not say first vision. Okay, that's one big thing. So if you realize that, okay, then the first vision was a fraud to begin with. What was the whole thing? Why was, because if you listen to the story about how he came to go out into the grove in Palmyra, New York, and see God and Jesus and all this other stuff, was that there was a religious revival going on in the 1830s, and there was 4 churches in his town, and his family was divided between them all, and they were fighting amongst each other to the point where it was breaking apart the family. So in his way to be able to preserve and save the family, he created Mormonism. Because if you look at Mormonism, it's about reunifying the family under one house. And so I think that was the big thing. He was a treasure hunter.
Yep.
And he was constantly going off, and he was warned to quit doing that because it was giving the church a bad name. And part of the reason why he got tarred and feathered in Missouri is because he claimed to be president of the United States.
I did not know that. Crazy. I did not know that.
Yes.
Now where did you learn this?
Oh, I used to be Mormon, dude.
Yeah, but I mean, was it in a book? Was it word of mouth? Was it? Or do you don't remember?
It was in a book somewhere.
Those are the things I'm interested in.
I mean, this is 20 years ago I read this.
Oh, okay. I'll let you slide on it. But yeah, I mean, like I said, I didn't know that. I mean, like I said, I didn't know anything like about the. I mean, I
Yeah,
think I did hear about him being tarred and feathered. Now that we're talking
he was
about it,
tarred and
but
feathered 3 times and survived all 3 of them.
okay, well,
Yeah, that's Mormon folklore. What they won't tell you about is the reason why he was getting tarred and feathered, is because he would come in and he would act like he was the president. Or at one point in time, he claimed to be the president of the United States, and that was considered an insurrection, and the people took care of him. He was making he had brass balls. Let's just say it that way.
oh,
He
I mean,
was.
like one of the rules in the Mormon Bible should be like, don't pretend to be the president of the United
Yeah, no
States.
shit. Well, in order for Utah to become, to be allowed to become a state, there all of a sudden came down an edict from the prophet. God told me we're not allowed to do polygamy anymore. Now, if you understand, do you know why the church split after Joseph Smith's death?
Because of the polygamy thing, like the whole
Oh, that's so surface level. No, see, his wife, Joseph Smith's wife, hated Brigham Young because Young was the one that introduced polygamy into the church. She believed that it should have been passed down in a hierarchy so that her sons should have been the next in line, not Brigham Young. She hated Brigham Young. So when Joseph Smith died, Brigham Young led everybody into Utah, and she created the Revised Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, where her sons became the leaders of the church. And yeah, it got out of control. It was worse than anything Brigham Young could do.
I haven't been able to ask this of anybody that had been in the church and had been around it that long. Why are Mormons so obsessed with old Mormon artifacts? Or why are they upset? Like, I mean,
Mormon artifacts? What do you mean?
like old Mormon Bibles, old Mormon pamphlets, old Mormon jury, things like that might pop up, or stuff that belong to one of the members, or
For the same reason people were after, the Shroud of Turin or the Holy Grail and all that other stuff. Same reasons.
okay. I mean, I didn't know if there's like some specific thing in there, because, like I said, I have sold some of that stuff in the past, and I mean, there's literally either bidding wars, or I have the head of the church contacting me for some of this stuff. So it's wild.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Mormon Church is like, if Christianity were true, I would say the Mormon Church is the closest thing. Not the founders. Those people were sick in their day, but the church, as a whole, if you do the culture, you live in it, you know the people, they are the closest thing to what you would expect a real Christian to be.
Now, I understand why you're saying that, and you have to understand this, is that anyone that has either grown up and left, or any other religion, be it Protestant, Catholic, or Baptist, or whatever, would say that basically the same thing. If they have become, I think we, the things that we get involved in, or whatever it is, and we feel the closest to, or the best to, we, even if we're not involved with them, we still feel a special
Kinship.
kinship or reverence for that group. And that's fine and dandy. Um, but when it comes to religions and things like that, I always tell people that you should go with your heart, and if go outside, get a rock, and let that be your church. Um, Cause that's basically what you talk to him, he'll talk back, or if you think you will. You know, uh,
Actually, that's kind of how I got to Myron to begin with, because there's a passage in the Bible that says, if you ask with like, I don't know what the real what it originally says, because it's been so long since I've read it, but it's like, if you ask with true desire, and the true desire to really know the answer, you will get the answer. And that's a universal law. It has nothing to do with God or anything else like that, unless you want to say God created the universal laws. But um, the thing is if you ask and you truly desire to know the answer, and you're willing to put your own bias aside, because like Meyer kept getting put in front of me, put in front of me, put in front of me. I'm like, and my bias was getting in the way to a point where I'm like, okay, I made a commitment that I would be open minded, and that I wouldn't, I wouldn't come in with a pre opinion. I might as well give this one a look as well. And I went down the rabbit hole. I mean, it's if you really, really want to know the answer, and you really ask with that sincere heart, that you with that real desire, you'll get the answer. It doesn't matter what it is. I just happened to ask the question that I really didn't want to know the answer to.
Man. All right. We'll pick up on this. I'm sure we'll have many more insights, because this is another one that brings out discussion. We're going to talk about Edgar Cayce.
Oh, my favorite.
Yeah, I told you. All right. Now we leave the courts of France and come to a small town in Kentucky at the end of the 19th century. And we find a boy who, as a child, claimed he could absorb the contents of any book by sleeping on it. A boy who said he saw visions, people others couldn't see, lights others couldn't explain. His family was poor. He was not particularly educated. He was deeply, genuinely uncomplicated religious, in the way that small-town Baptists were religious in the 1880s. He taught Sunday school for most of his adult life. He read the Bible cover to cover once every year, without fail, until the day he died. He also, when someone laid him on a couch and said, "Sleep," would close his eyes, fold his hands on his chest, and begin talking about things he had absolutely no business of knowing. They called him the sleeping prophet. His method was a patient or someone asking on behalf of the patient would give Cayce their name and address. That was it, just the name and the address. And Cayce, in his trance, would describe their physical ailments in precise clinical detail, recommend treatment, often unusual, sometimes heretical, by the standards of conventional medicine, and then wake up with no memory of any of it. He once correctly diagnosed a woman's cancer via trance. He recommended a treatment. She followed it, and the cancer was gone. Her doctors were baffled. They asked her how she treated herself. She explained. She had no explanation. The transcripts are in the ARE archives in Virginia Beach. You can read them today. Was it luck? Intuition? A subconscious synthesis of medical texts he browsed in his waking life? Or was it Edgar Cayce, the Kentucky Sunday school teacher with a 9th grade education, that he was able to genuinely access something we don't have a name for? He gave over 14,000 readings. And one of those readings, and within those readings, some will make skeptics go very quiet. He predicted both world wars, not just that they would happen, but the years they would begin and end. He predicted them from his trance state in 1930. When the second one had not yet started, And there was still political will in many quarters to believe it wouldn't. He spoke at length about the Jewish sects who wrote the Dead Sea Scrolls. He described their lives, their rituals, their history in grander detail. In 1930, when essentially nothing was known about them in popular culture. The Dead Sea Scrolls weren't found until 1947, 2 years after Casey died. He described what he called the La Nina and El Nino effects, the clinical oceanic temperature fluctuations that drive weather patterns today, decades before they were formally identified and named by climate scientists. Here's one of his readings. Before the end of the 20th century, there will be a shifting of the poles, or a new cycle begins. When there is a shifting of the poles, or a new cycle begins in the year 2000 to 2001. Not 100% sure I understand that, but okay. In 2002, the journal Science published research showing the Earth's geomagnetic poles have been shifting measurably since the 1800s, with a rate of drift accelerating sharply in the recent decades. The North Magnetic Pole has moved over 900 miles since it was first located in 1831, and is moving faster now than any point in recorded history. Casey said pole shifting. Scientists say drift. Make of that what you will. He also predicted the assassination of John F. Kennedy. He talked about the death on the 32nd and 33rd presidents in office. Roosevelt died in office. JFK, the 35th, died too. Sorry, I had to get a drink. Casey's interpreter spends a lot of time working out the numbering. But the general predictions of the presidents dying violently in office is there in the transcripts decades before it happened. But here is what I find most remarkable about Edgar Casey. The man was genuinely troubled by his own gift. He wasn't trying to be famous. He wasn't selling anything. He spent most of his adult life exhausted and frequently ill, overworked, because he couldn't say no to people who were desperate for help, and increasingly worried that whatever he was tapping into in his trance states might not be entirely good. Later in life, a doctor warned him that he was giving too many readings and it was killing him. The trance sessions drained him physically. He was told to give 2 readings a day maximum. He kept giving 8. People were desperate. They traveled from across the country. They wrote letters from Europe. What was he going to do? Tell them to go home? He died in January 1945. He told associates in September 1944 that he would be buried by January 5th. He was buried on January 5th, 1945. He was 67 years old. He had given readings 4 days before he died. His last recorded words on the subject of his own abilities were uncertain. He said, "I can only tell you what I see. I cannot tell you what it means." Which is, if you think about it, the most honest thing anyone in this show is going to say all night long. He predicted both world wars from start to end. He described the people who wrote the Dead Sea Scrolls, like I mentioned before. He was right about El Nino and La Nina weather patterns, named them and confirmed them a decade, you know. He was right about the use of blood as a diagnosis tool for standard medicine today. The death of the presidents in office that were linked to JFK. What he was not right about was what happened in 1969. He claimed that Atlantis would rise in the Caribbean. It didn't rise. California has not fallen off into the ocean yet. It's still attached.
Damn.
The pole shifts are still ongoing. And there is where we are on Edgar Casey.
I kind of wish he'd have been right on the California thing.
He still might be. I mean, now, I'm saying as of now. There is... Oh, let me answer a question here. The show's time schedule is normally at 8 till whenever. We normally run about 2 hours or try to. Sometimes we go over.
And sometimes we run late.
And sometimes we run late. So, just look for us. We're at the top of the hour. I need to use the bathroom and grab a smoke. There's some new people here if you want to do your segue.
Okay, yeah, sure.
And then we'll touch base on Edgar Casey, what you know about him.
Oh, dude, yeah, I'm looking forward to this. Edgar Casey, yeah, he's kind of one of my heroes. Anyway, so I'm Friar Tuck. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Friar Tuck. I have a channel. It's called The Epoch of Friar Tuck. I talk about homeless education and survival. I live life as a nomad. Sometimes you guys will notice I won't be on the show. Like last night, because I'm on the Chesapeake and Ohio towpath trail. It goes from Cumberland to Washington, D.C. And we hit a spot last night where it was, we got no signal. So the nights that you don't see me coming on here, unless, he's got something else planned, I'm generally, it's because I'm out of signal because I'm kind of nomadic. Or as a guy I met on the AT a couple weeks back told me, he called us Neanderthals. We live a little primitive and we like to meander. And I like it. I like that term. So yeah, I'm a Neanderthal. A little bit primitive and a little bit of meandering. So yes, if you guys go along, at least on my channel, because I do a nightly live stream as well on my channel. People will check in with me every few days and ask me what state or where I'm at now, because I'm generally in a new state just about every month. It's very rare that I stay in an area for an extended amount of time. I don't know how to stay put. I just know how to move. So you can follow me, my dog Sam, over on my channel, and if that's something that you're into. I was inspired to start the channel by a prepper named Portland Prepper, who said that, the homeless could teach us a lot. And I'm like, well, I've been doing this for 25 years. I guess I should be the one that teaches. And so, I kind of bridge the gap between preppers and homeless to kind of show you, like, what your SHCF is going to look like in the future. So, but anyways, I gotta take a break and deal with the dog as well. So I'm gonna go mute for just a quick second.
I grabbed some cough drops. Maybe that'll help my dry mouth. Everybody there?
Oh, damn, Sam. Oh, that was raunchy, dog. Oh, Dude, dog fart. Oh.
All right, so let's break down what you got on old Casey.
Um, I've always looked at Casey to be correct. One of the things that he said that really stuck with me is he was doing a reading with somebody, and they're like, "Man, I've got all this money, I keep paying for all this health stuff, and yet I'm always sick." And Casey goes into his trance and tells him because in his previous lifetimes, he didn't take very good care of himself, so that now that he has the means, he now is going to learn a lesson about why he needs to take care of his health. And so this was a lesson for him to learn. And that one has stuck with me because I've always asked myself, well, why the fuck have I been chronically homeless for 25 years? I mean, I've got the skill set. This shouldn't be my lifestyle. But then, I think about that, and it reminds me, maybe I was rich in a few lifetimes, and now I need to know what it's like to be on the other side of the coin.
Hmm.
I thought a lot of his stuff about the like when you pass, your spirit goes around one of the many planets, and one of those planets has like purpose and alignment and all that other stuff, and then you come back here. I think some of that stuff was wrong. What he calls the Akashic records, Meyer calls the Arahat Arthur, um, which is basically everything that happens here on this planet is recorded in its own, memory bank or hard drive, and that's a lot of what Edgar Casey was accessing. Plus, with my great uncle being a remote viewer and an army psychic, he talked a little bit about that as well. It's like that Edgar Casey was a big inspiration for them.
Now,
So I think,
well, what do you think about like the thing I said? He said that he was getting concerned. He didn't know if what he was tapping to was good. Um, apparently, I mean, there's, I mean, he openly said that there's stuff that he didn't say, he didn't talk about. Um, there was a painting I saw when I was a kid. It was by him, and it showed what I thought was New York City in rubble, and two men in like the only thing I could describe was like gas mask and like biohazard suits. I wish I could find that picture. I mean that painting. I know it's there. I saw it. But I wonder what he saw if he was helping all these people. He saw he was helping all these people. What did he see? Why did he feel that way? That there was something evil on the other side.
because there's a duality in everything.
I mean, I agree with you, but I mean, I wonder what his. I mean, there's no way for us to know.
Stay here.
There's no way for us to know, and we can only debate it. I just wondered, what he, could have saw. What secrets died with him.
I think he probably saw some of the horrors and thought that it was just something evil.
That,
I mean, it's the only like I don't know. He may have come across other beings. Like Meyer talks about the Giza intelligence, and they did a lot of projection and astral projection and stuff like that. And he could have come across them and been like, yeah, there's probably not good beings around. Because those people were manipulating our religions and everything up until the late 70s.
Sorry, I have a cat that ran in and is trying to take over the live stream.
Just laying on the keyboard.
No, he jumped up in my lap. He's trying to get up on the camera. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think Edgar Casey deserves his own show. maybe next week if you feel like it.
Yeah, I mean, Edgar Casey's a very fascinating individual. You could talk about it for a long time.
Yeah, I think maybe we should explore.
I mean, but if you're going to talk about Edgar Casey, you should also talk about Houdini.
The what?
If you're going to talk about Edgar Casey, you should also include Houdini as part of that, because Houdini, his whole job was to go around and to, he was basically a debunker using his own magic, and a lot of people think that he was, because there's the
I have
oh
a I have
there's a
a
guild and stuff like that.
I originally did a text to script show about Houdini, but I have another one that's written up. Um, it goes into him, his wife, his children, um, and the things that he believed, and like each of the seances and stuff he went to, and he tried to disprove and things like that. I mean, yeah, he had a huge hatred toward anyone that claimed to either one see the future or to be able to talk to ghosts.
Yeah, and was he alive during the same time Casey was?
Um, I don't know. I mean,
Because
or
I'm
I
supposed
can't
to believe
remember.
that they crossed paths.
I'm sure they did if it was going on at the time. I'll have to look it up. No, I will. Hold on, see. Uh, then yeah, he did.
Oh, really? Did
Yeah,
they cross paths?
I thought so. Let's see. According to the book Edgar Casey, The American Prophet, Edgar Casey met Harry Houdini. Houdini invited Casey to be his guest at the Jack Dempsey versus George the heavyweight boxing match, July 2nd, 1921, in Jersey City. Following the fight, Houdini, along with they all attended a reading given by Casey at the hotel. The outcome, though, Houdini never publicly commented on the validity of Casey's abilities. He neither shamed him for a fraud or validated him, which was considered unusual for him.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So even he thought that there was some credence to it, like, hey, this guy might actually have something.
Yeah. Yeah.
He just couldn't explain it, so he therefore didn't comment on it.
All right. I gotta dig into that a little more later. All right. Where's my? Oh no.
I bet you that's the reason why Casey was able to get such a big name, is because Houdini didn't go after him.
Well, they like I said, they did meet, and there was multiple people there, and so something should have been said by somebody, but it doesn't seem like they did, which is really weird. I mean, knowing what I know about Howard Houdini, knowing about, he was easy to drop drop a note on somebody, and I got to look into that more. I mean, that's. I'm glad you brought it up. That's weird. That is really weird. Okay, the next person we're going to talk about is Jean Dixon. You know anything about her?
No.
Okay, now she's the Washington psychic. Um, okay. Now we come to a woman who understood something that Nostradamus and Casey never quite grasped. Prophecy is show business. Jean Dixon sold real estate in Washington, D.C. She had a crystal ball. She had a syndicated newspaper column that went to millions of homes. She had lunch with presidents. As someone in the comments said, Reagan's psychic. She had dinner with senators. She was the parlance of her era, a fixture. The kind of person who appeared at parties and charity events and was expected to say things that would be repeated. And she said one thing in May 1956 in Parade magazine. God, I remember that. Which at the time had a readership of 30 million people. That changed the rest of her life. As for the 1960 election, Mrs. Dixon thinks it will be dominated by a Labor and won by a Democrat. But he will be assassinated or he will die in office. Though not necessarily his first term. And here we go again. John F. Kennedy was shot and killed in Dallas on November 22nd, 1963. He was a Democrat, and he was elected in 1960. He died in his first term. He was in a motorcade when it happened. And Jean Dixon later said she had seen it specifically, the motorcade, the crowd, and the sudden horror of it. As we said the other night, I only briefly mentioned Jean Dixon. But there seems to be a pattern here. People knowing things they shouldn't have. People knowing certain events they shouldn't have. After November 22nd, 1963, Jean Dixon was not a real estate agent anymore. She was a prophet. President Nixon not only consulted her, but formed an actual government committee, an honest-to-God federal anti-terrorism working group, partially because she warned him of coming terrorist attacks on American athletes at the 1972 Olympics. That never happened, though. But here's the thing. Here's the thing mathematician John Paulus noticed and wrote about and named after her, what I said earlier. Jean Dixon also made an enormous number of predictions that were completely and embarrassingly wrong. She predicted that China, not the United States, would be the first country to put a man on the moon. China still has not done this. She predicted that a comet would strike Earth in the mid-1980s. No comet. She predicted that Walter Reuther, the labor union leader, would run for president. He did not, though he did try. She predicted that Richard Nixon would survive the Watergate scandal and make a political comeback. He did not. He resigned in grace and spent the rest of his life in a kind of permanent internal exile. Wasn't he in prison for a while?
No.
No, okay, the other one was in prison. Okay. She predicted World War III would start in 1958, triggered by a dispute over two small islands off the coast of China. No World War III happened. Not yet. Although those islands are still a source of geopolitical tension to this day. The Jean Dixon effect, named by Paulus in his book, Immersi, is a phenomenon where a psychic or anyone who makes predictions receives enormous public credit for a few that have only come true. Almost no public accountability for the many that don't. The correct predictions are remembered, repeated, written up, turned into best-selling biographies. The wrong predictions quietly disappear. And before you feel too superior about that, before you think, well, I wouldn't fall for that, consider this is exactly what your brain does with every decision you have made. You remember the time your guts were right, and you forget the times that your gut was a complete disaster. We are all running the Gene Dixon effect on ourselves, constantly, in the privacy of our own memories. She didn't leave us with a few predictions worth watching. Even now, in her 1969 book, My Life and Prophecies, she wrote that a war between Russia and China would break out sometime between 2025 and 2037, initiated and won by China. We are, at this moment, very much inside that window. If it's prophetic or geopolitical common sense from a well-connected Washington insider, again, something I'll let you decide. She also predicted in her 1973 memoir a terrorist attack on a New York skyscraper. The year she wrote was 1971. The year it happened, though, was 2001, 30 years. Before she died in January 1997, she told people around her that she knew something was coming. She said, I know this would happen. And then she was gone. Everyone says things like that when they're dying. The believers say, but how did she know it would come to pass? What she was right about: JFK assassination, the Nixon presidency and election, the massacre, the terrorist attack on New York skyscraper, even though she got the year wrong. She was wrong about China going to the moon. She was wrong about a comet strike in the mid-1980s. What I find a little concerning is we've had three people on the list talk about comets hitting in 1980. She was wrong about Nixon surviving Watergate. She was wrong about WW3. She still might be right about China and Russia war. That's all I got on her.
I think she's just a huckster, a grifter. A lot of people will make predictions. Like even with my friend Joanna. If I wanna know if I'm gonna be safe or not, I call her like, hey, am I gonna be safe in this dance? Oh yeah, you'll be fine. Every time I haven't been bothered. Everybody has that person that they look to for advice or direction or stuff like that. Now, I know Joanna, she's not psychic and, anything else like that. She may have some intuition, but her intuition is just kind of, it's hit or miss, you know what I mean? So I think that's kind of where the lady was going. It was more of an intuition, because women generally tend to have more psychic abilities than men.
I agree 100% on that. Now, see, I know people who have dreamed lottery numbers, and they'll forget the last one. Like, how many lottery numbers is in, like, the Powerball? I don't know, like 8 or
5 or something.
Yeah. I mean, like, I know somebody that's had multiple dreams and got all the numbers right but one, because they couldn't remember the last one. I've had other friends that dreamed all of the numbers, and that they would tell somebody, and they would go play the numbers, and they would win. And what's weird is all these people having these dreams are women.
And if you focus on something long enough, you will get the answer.
I think you could. Yeah, I think it's something, something along those lines. Or, I think that people have the ability to look forward, and maybe there's a way we don't quite understand. Maybe we can see glimpses of things, or grab things, but something. There's little things. That's what I'm talking about with prophecy. You know, if I sit down and if I sit down with a psychic, or somebody, and they tell me the future and they tell me what's going on, it's hard for me to believe. Um, there was once I sat down with a psychic at one of those carnival things, and she told me how many children I was going to have. She was right. I didn't think I was ever going to have children. I didn't think I was going to live that long. So either they guess really good, or they know they can see things. But I think certain people have the ability to grab or to latch on to stuff, like Edgar Casey. And maybe these other people,
I think I don't think Edward. See, these other two are accidental. I don't think Edward Casey was intentional. Meyer talks about how there are people that are. There's probably like 2 or 3 people on this whole entire planet that are truly clairvoyant, but these are people that keep to themselves, and you'll only know it because they have something going on, in their head where they get to see a vision, and until they tell you, it won't go away, and they just want to get the nightmare gone. It's more of a burden to them than anything. That's why I think that's like an indicator with Casey, where he thought he was a burden, or he thought that he may not be getting true, correct, and complete information. I think people that are really dealing with it, they have much different questions than people wishing that they had it.
If you're probably going to like the next one then. Baba Zonga.
Baba Zonga.
Yeah. We'll get.
Oh boy.
We'll get right to her here in a second. Now she was a clairvoyant. Hey, now you bring in some soda. Quickly. But yeah, Baba Zonga. Now,
Okay.
there's a moment in 1989 that people who study Baba Zonga come back to over and over again. A journalist asked about her in America, about New York, about what she sees. And she says in Bulgarian, in a village where she received pilgrims for decades, Hara, Hara, the American brothers will fall after being attacked by steel birds. The wolves will be howling in the bushes, and innocent blood will be gushing. September 11th, 2001, steel birds, innocent blood, 12 years before it happened. Recorded, documented, and witnessed by a journalist who asked a question, or the story goes. Now, I want to be straightforward with you about something. The documentation. He wants soda. Lord have mercy. Now she done derailed me. Okay. Most of her famous predictions were not written down until after the events that were supposedly predicted. The steel birds quote circulated primarily after 9/11. And its earlier documentation is disputed. This is the true number of her most striking prophecies. This doesn't necessarily mean she never said them, but it does mean that when we talk about her and what she predicted, we are often referring to oral traditions, translated in layers, political context. She lived under communist Bulgaria, where her activities were officially documented by the state, and those documents have their own agenda. And the very human tendencies to remember predictions that came true more clearly are the ones that didn't. They believed she was extraordinary. Even accounting for all that, there were things that are hard to explain. She predicted Gandhi, the Prime Minister of India, would die in smoke and fire. Gandhi was assassinated in 1984 by his own bodyguards, shot in her garden. She accurately described the sinking of a Russian submarine, Kursk, in 2000, an event she reportedly predicted in 1980, saying at the turn of the century, in August of 1999 or 2000, the Kursk will be covered with water. The whole world will be weeping over it. It sunk in the Barents Sea on August 12th, 2000. All 118 crew members died, and the world wept. Or, well, they wept. She predicted, according to her followers, the election of Obama, specifically a black president of the United States, years before Obama's political career began.
She's the one.
Yeah, she is said to have also predicted the BRICS, the island nation splitting from a larger one. She predicted the 2004 Indian Ocean tsunami that killed 200,000 people. A big wave will cover the large coast, covering with people and towns. Everything will disappear beneath the water. Here's what I keep thinking about her. She was blind from childhood in a small village in the mountains of what was then the Ottoman Empire. She had no access to news, to the internet, to international intelligence. She had visitors, sometimes thousands a week during her peak years. She sat in a chair and they came to her and she told them what she saw. The Bulgarian communist government was also interested in her abilities, that they set up a state research institute to study her. They recorded her sessions. They assigned her a salary. She became, effectively, a state asset, a national psychic. The communist government of Bulgaria, which officially did not believe in anything it couldn't quantify, quietly believed in her enough to put her on the payroll. She predicted her own death in 1990. In 6 years, I will leave this world, she said. She died in August 11th, 1996. And before she died, she looked ahead as far as she could and left us a timeline. She said humanity will make contact with alien life sometime in the 29th century. She said Europe will be devastated by chemical weapons attack used by the Islamic extremists in 2016, which her followers connected to a wave of terrorist attacks that rocked Europe's cities during that period. She predicted the discovery of a new energy source around 2028. She said by 5079 the universe will end. 5079, a specific number. Not eventually, not soon. A year so far from now, none of us, not one person in this room, will be here to check. But she gave us a date, and that, in a strange way, is kind of comforting. We got time, so she said. She got the assassination thing right, the sinking of the submarine right, the Indian Ocean tsunami right, 9/11, Barack Obama, BRICS, the extreme weather events in 2022, which was weird. It's still disputed about the chemical weapon thing, and alien contact has not happened, and the new energy source still hasn't happened. She is, for her most famous one, she's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 7 and 3.
You know what though? Meyer, this fits with Meyer's timeline because he said in 800 years in like 1970, between 75 and 78.
Keep talking.
In 800 years, the Pleiadians will come and meet Earth's humankind. So that fits at the 29th century. So that fits. But the thing is from what I've heard about what she said about Obama, if this is the right lady, is that she predicted that a black man would be president, but he would be our last president. And a lot of people debate whether or not she was correct in that. And I think she was, because if you look at Trump and look at how his presidency went, half this country didn't even recognize him as as their leader. Same thing with Biden. We actually haven't had a president that's unified this nation in coming up to over a decade now. So in reality, I think she was right. Obama was the last real president that we had. We've had jokers ever since.
I mean, I've heard that theory before. I have. I heard it. I mean, I'm not an Obama fan. I mean, I never have been. Um, but I do think that Obama was the trigger or beginning of whatever it is we're in now. Um, I believed he was the puppet that was, I mean, the puppet master that was, you know, controlling Biden when he was in office. I mean, he actually said it. He said if I could figure out a way to sit at home and control the president, I would. And well, that happened. Well, I don't know. I mean, but there's a lot about her that I didn't go into that makes me question her validity and stuff like that. I mean, it's like back and forth. I mean, she kind of deserves her own little show too, but I kind of veer away from it because that's another, like the lizard guy. Um,
Yeah.
now we get into, unless you're getting ready to say something. I'm sorry.
Well, I was wondering, is because Meyer fits into the whole prophet thing. Are we going to talk about him tonight?
Not tonight. Like I said, Meyer has his own show.
Okay.
Yeah, Meyer is going. We're going into. Well, I mean, you know, I can see the Meyer going on for 3 or 4 hours because I mean, there's just a lot there.
Mm.
Oh, I can see it. I don't know what's going to happen, but I can see it. Um, you know, these are ones that I'm putting in a specific category of maybe or fraudsters. I haven't made up my mind about Meyer yet, but you know, we'll see.
I don't know. He's the only one that has never been wrong on his prediction that we know of.
Well, we're gonna look at that.
Research that stuff.
We're gonna look at that. We're gonna really look at that. Plus, I think I want to wait on the Meyer stuff until I get my whiteboard because there's so much with him that I gotta. I'm gonna put it on the board. That way I can kind of connect it because you start drawing lines between different things and.
Oh yeah, he's been all over the place, man.
Yeah.
But you know something funny though? He claims that in his last life he was Rasputin, and he actually gives the account of what happened to Rasputin.
Yeah. Well, we will. You hang on to that one. We'll go into it because, like I said, you know, I mean, we would, in order for me to, you know, I would need to see his account and then try to verify some of it back and forth and see what he says and goes on and see what he would have had access to. Because there's new stuff about Rasputin that's come to light, actually.
Well, he was saying that Rasputin was killed by the British, and he's been saying that for years, because Rasputin was talking the czars out of going into World War I and staying involved because the people didn't want to. He told the czar to listen to the people, and so he started to pull out. The British didn't like it, so they had him assassinated. And by therefore turning the czars to come into the World War, that's what led to the Bolshevik Revolution, which was what Rasputin was warning if he didn't fucking stay out of the war.
No, we'll have to. I mean, I can see the British doing something like that, but.
Well, I mean, they started the First World War. I mean, that's what the Prince of Persia was all about.
Yeah. but how active they wanted to continue it and stuff. There's a lot of weird stuff going on back then. You start looking at the Russian families and things like that. But now we get into TikTok time travelers, the new prophets of the 21st century. Well, this is a long way from 16th century France. We are now on TikTok. It's 2022. A user goes the name of Eno on an account called the Radiant Time Traveler. He posts a video. He says in a voice that sounds like someone who has been rehearsed being mysterious, "Attention, I am a time traveler from the year 2671. I'm here to warn you." He gets 900,000 followers. 900,000. Now look, before we laugh, and we are going to laugh, I am not going to pretend we're not going to laugh. I want to make a point. A man posted a 4-line poem in 1555. A woman said words in the ear of a journalist in a Bulgarian village in 1989. And we are still talking about both of them centuries later. And right now, tonight, we are talking about this man. Something in us wants to hear this. Something in us doesn't change. The platform changes. The desire does not. Eno says he was born in the year 2671, and at some point the mechanism is never specified in detail, which is a feature, not a bug. He traveled back to our time, our poor, chaotic, historical, significant time, and he is using his presence here to post warnings on social media, owned by a Chinese technology company, which is a choice. That's a choice that he made. Here are some of the things he told us were coming. September 23rd, 2023, we would discover the first confirmed alien signal from our solar system. Those aliens then appear to conquer Earth. They appear, since he is posting from 2671, and humanity is still around, October 23rd, the sun lets out a rare and unknown type of energy that allows people to see they are going to die. This happens to millions of people every day for 3 months. November 12th, an alien artifact is found buried in Antarctica. It contains a mysterious disease with no cure. November 9th. Note this one. It comes before the artifact, but he announced it after. The sun disappears for a week, causing, and I'm quoting directly here, the world to go into its first purge. Now, all this is getting ready to happen, according to him. I don't think it is. I'm just saying this. I already think he's fake.
This is a whack job.
He is. But, what if we go back to the thing we're talking about? Some of these people seem to pull on strings a little bit. Okay, the first purge, like the movie, he is referring to the movie. In his warning from the future about the sun disappearing, none of these things happened. I don't think any of them are going to happen. Not the alien signal, not the sun's energy death vision, not the artifact disease. The sun has not disappeared, and there has been no purge. And yet, and this is the part I have been genuinely fascinated with, his following did not meaningfully decrease after these predictions failed. People in the comments wrote things like, "You must have changed the timeline," or "Maybe these happened in a parallel dimension," or, my personal favorite, "Give me lottery numbers instead." The last one is actually the most reasonable response to any time travel claiming to be from the future. Not tell me about alien invasions. Tell me the lottery numbers right now. Next week, numbers. If you're from 2671, you've had 600 years to memorize them. Nobody ever gives lottery numbers unless they're the people that I was talking about. Friends and family that dream. In all recorded history, from Nostradamus to the other few I named, not one prophet, not one seer, not one time travel has ever given anyone the specific, verifiable, short-term, checkable lottery numbers that are various sophisticated, but there are various sophisticated explanations for this. The simplest one is they don't have them. Earlier, Eno had predicted a passenger plane would disappear into the Bermuda Triangle in 2022. He predicted that 7 people would fall from the sky. He warned that the twin planets would collide with Earth. He warned about the beginning of World War III. He also said that in 2023, the first human would set foot on Mars, and that the cures for all cancers would be discovered. These, notably, are optimistic ones. Time travelers, as a class, are much better at predicting catastrophes than cures. He had a moment of hope and then returned to his usual programming of imminent global collapse.
He realized he lost fucking
Right.
followers. Yeah, this is just him trying to make some money. Yeah, there are people that after coming across a lot of people that were like Alex Jones flunkies. There are some people that just like they live off of that stress. It's like a fucking coffee and donuts for them.
True. Now we move on to Noah and the Apex TV confessionals. Have you ever watched those? Apex TV? It's on YouTube. You there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, I was asking, have you ever seen the Apex?
No.
Okay. 1 million views and a lie detector. Before Eno, there was Noah. Noah appeared on a YouTube channel called Apex TV in 2017. His face was blurred. His voice was digitally altered. He sat in a chair in what appeared to be a non-discrete location and said the following. He was a time traveler from the year 2030. He had been sent back to our time as part of the government time travel program. He was risking his life by telling us this. Government assassins were tracking him. In one episode, he took a lie detector test. The camera showed the polygraph machine wrapped around his arm. He was asked, "Are you a genuine time travel from the year 2030?" He said yes. The screen showed the word true in green large letters. I will note for the record that polygraph results don't normally show this type of thing on the screen. The producers choose to display the graphic. They said true instead of showing the actual needle readings. I'm just noting that, and I'm sure it's fine. Noah, whose real name turned out to be Jason, eventually admitted the whole thing was a hoax. He had researched very thoroughly what a genuine time traveler would plausibly say about the near future. He had thought carefully about the internal logic. He had built a very coherent narrative, and he had delivered it as though it was real. His face was blurred.
He fucking lied about it.
Yeah.
Through a polygraph.
Yeah. I mean, he practiced, and like I said, I have seen other people like this and do this. I have met people like this. One specifically, another one, most recently is the guy that I sent you the pictures of.
Dude, I knew a guy in San Francisco. He was telling me this story. It's like, yeah, I decided, I wanted to collect Social Security. I didn't want to do anything for the rest of my life, so I just kept faking that I was schizophrenic, and then one day I became schizophrenic. Like if you fake something long enough, it does become true.
If you want Social Security, I got to go over and tell me you're time traveling. We'll get to you.
Ooh, I need to do that.
Yeah, that's what I got to do. I'm a time traveler.
President.
Yeah. Now, the original video got 5 million views. 5 million. more than many of the world's most famous musicians have got on that platform at that point. Not after. I mean, things have changed a little bit. Noah was bigger than some rock bands. Noah, a person who was not from 2030, who had sat in a chair and told a detailed, carefully researched lie while wrapped in a polygraph machine, was a genuine internet celebrity. What Noah predicted.
Sociopath.
Yep. He said Donald Trump would be elected for a second term. He said that by 2030, artificial intelligence would be embedded into almost every aspect of daily life. He said that brain chips would allow cognitive enhancement. He said he would be moving. He said we would be moving away from phones toward devices in or on the human body. He said that by 2030, the government would be publicly confirm the existence of extraterrestrial life, intelligent life, not microbes, though he specifically said the aliens were not intelligent. And that by the time humanity had contacted with the beings, they're just as smart as humans. In some ways, we are more advanced than them. Now, I want to stop a moment about the alien prediction, not because I think Noah was telling the truth about being a time traveler. He wasn't. He said so. But notice what he said. The aliens are confirmed. They're real. And they're not incredibly intelligent. They're about our level. We're more advanced. Of all the things that Noah could have said about the future alien contact, terrifying, godlike, devastating, wonderful, he chose they're fine. Actually, about average. And we're doing better. This is either a very specific detail from a carefully constructed hoax, or I realize this is a big or in a kind of random specific detail that lands in the memory precisely because it is counterintuitive. Of course, the aliens are supposed to be overwhelming and incomprehensible. They kind of like us to be slightly less advanced. And the last thing anyone expects to hear was, they're stupid. The Apex TV channel, by Noah's account, and the account of the people who ran it, essentially a factory for this type of content. At its peak, they were receiving 3 supposed time traveler submissions per day. They had a sister channel. They were selling merchandise. The host admitted it frequently that they were in the business of giving people what they wanted. They didn't care if it was make-believe. They were just making content. But here's the legacy of Noah I don't think gets enough attention. After the original video, before the confession, Noah disappeared for several days. He then reappeared with an explanation. He had been time abducted. Government agents from the future had taken him back to 2030, interrogated him about his unauthorized disclosure of future events, and returned him. He then immediately went back to making videos. His face was blurred. This is brilliant. As a narrative move, you made a bunch of predictions. Some of them haven't come true. And what do? You don't say I was wrong. You say I was abducted. My timeline was interfered with. The events you're waiting for has shifted slightly. The sudden that feel the predictions become evident is the very inference or danger that makes the story interesting in the first place. Nostradamus had the same trick. He wrote his prophecies in obscure verses so that if an event didn't match, you could always reinterpret it. Just the platform changes, guys. Now, Noah wasn't alone. Oh, no. Noah was the tip of the very strange iceberg. Below the waterline, there were supposed time travelers that you can count on both hands. There was Darrell Dean, who appeared on Apex TV. And apparently had an actual audio file from the future. And this goes on and on and on. He said in his time, supermarkets and restaurants are run entirely on robots. Self-driving cars are universal. Brain chips for cognitive enhancement are widely available, and most people have them. These predictions, I note, feel less like prophecy and more like reading technology news from a website in 2019. But it's worth asking, does Darrell Dean know the future? Or does Darrell Dean have access to a reasonably good technology forecasting newsletter? Because a lot of this stuff has started to come true. Some people are very intuitive. There's Brian Johnson. He didn't appear on YouTube or TikTok. He appeared in a police station in Casper, Wyoming in October 2017. He told officers that he was from year 2048. He had traveled back to warn them that aliens were coming and they needed to speak to the president immediately. He smelled strongly of alcohol. He was politely detained and then released. He gave no additional predictions. The aliens, as of this performance, have not arrived. But it is worth saying that 2048 has also not arrived. So we have some runaway on this one. And this goes on. There is a journalist investigated Apex TV. I don't know why they did, but they all knew it was fake.
Dad.
Okay, I'm watching. I'll be back in a minute.
Let me know if you go digital.
Okay.
At 10 a.m.
Okay, let me finish. Here's what I've been building toward. What connects Nostradamus and Baby Zonga and Edgar Casey and Gene Dixon and Noah and Eno and the man from 2045 who came and said his piece and left. It isn't the predictions, it's the track record. It isn't even the questions of whether any of them were telling the truth or accessing something real or just very good at pattern matching. Some are very motivated liars with interesting follow-throughs. It's this in every era and every culture across every medium from quatrains to TikToks. There has been people who said, I have seen beyond where you can see. I know what is coming. Let me tell you. And there has always been in every era, every culture, every medium, people who stopped what they were doing and listened. And there has always been people who questioned. Not because they were stupid, not because they were weak or uneducated, because they are human, because the future is terrifying, because none of us know what is going to happen tomorrow, next year, or to our children, or to the civilization we have built. And the weight of that uncertainty is genuinely enormous. We carry it every day. Most of the time, we manage not to think about it directly. And then something breaks through, a pandemic, a war, a technology that seems to be moving faster than anyone can understand, and the weight becomes unbearable. We look for someone who knows. Nostradamus knew that he was a plague doctor. He watched his life and children die from a disease he knew anything about or could understand. The world had failed him in its certainties. He turned to an uncertain, found an audience of millions across centuries. Baby Zonga, the same way. She lost her sight, and she didn't see coming a whirlwind. She lost total control. But she spent the rest of her life giving people what they wanted to see. Eno was the same way. He watched things change and predicted what he saw, and he lied about it. I don't know what to say about Edgar Casey. I just don't. It's still up in the air with me about him. I do know this. Every single one of them told us something true about ourselves. About what we want, about what we fear, about the specifics, the precise, ancient, unchanged human experience of standing in the present, looking toward a future we cannot see or feel. In our bones, that it comes whether or not we are ready, and something is coming. All prophecies, at its core, a love letter to that feeling, a promise that someone somewhere has looked ahead, a promise that darkness has a shape, and that shape has a name. And that if you know that name, you might survive what is coming. Maybe you will. Maybe the prophecy will be right. Maybe the warnings will help. Or maybe. And this is what Gene Dixon effect teaches us. This is what the failed predictions, the missing lottery numbers, and the vanished aliens of September 23rd teach us. Maybe the value of prophecy was never about the prophecy at all. Maybe the value was that someone looked you in the eye and wrote 4 lines in some obscure French, or sat in a trance and spoke your name, or blurred their face and altered their voice and said they were from 2030 and told you, I have seen what is coming, and you were in it. You matter enough to be warned. That is all. You there?
Oh yeah, sorry, I had myself on mute. That was. I'm glad. So we're done with the show.
And we're done. We're done. We're
All
done.
right, cool. Because I was about to tap out. I'm sitting at like 19% battery. So
Yeah, I know. That's the reason I move along with 2:00.
okay. Well, I'll keep you posted for tomorrow. I'm probably gonna go into town and just come back to the same spot because, I don't. Sam needs a little bit of a rest. So, but yeah, I should be there tomorrow. I'll keep you posted in case things change. Okay.
Okay, sounds good, man.
All right. Bye.
Be good. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for coming. Thank you for being here tonight. Thank the ones that will come later. You always do.
My dad will go digital. Goodbye.
Stay paranoid, my friends, and I'll see you tomorrow. Good night, and God bless.